Hi everyone, and welcome to the April 2025 Comprehensive Astrology. This is Sky coming on to talk to you about the intuitive messages as well as the Astrology of April 2025. Welcome back. I hope you're all having a wonderful spring. Obviously, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, or a wonderful entry to fall. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, so many wonderful changes we have coming in for April. I'm excited to read for you all today about some of these positive changes and open up to some guidance and intuitive insights for getting through a time where we have, yes, one of the outer planets changing signs. We're coming into April with Neptune having moved into Aries. Do subscribe below if you would like to be notified when my video about Neptune and Aries goes up. I'll touch briefly on it in today's April video, but I'll go more in depth with that in an individual video. Okay, so what do we want to talk about for April? There's a feeling of many things being behind us now, things that we thought we would never come past, things that really took a long time are now in the rearview mirror. There's a feeling also of the timeline changing, of coming into a new story, coming into some kind of different version of ourselves, possibly, as having Neptune move into Aries is creating a merging of the personal, very micro individual identity with the larger dreamscape. So I'm seeing people beginning to change who they are as people. I'm seeing people also no longer wanting to accept the previous structures, the previous commitments, or the previous dreams as well. So there is a new foot that we're striking out on. It feels like we're turning over a new leaf, and that's going to be very severe for some people. Some people are quite angry that they've had to go through certain things. I do feel that there is some type of rage that was buried for a long time and was very inchoate with Neptune and Pisces, and now with Neptune moving into Aries being the first month that it's in Aries here, also with Aries season, right? What were the odds that the sun accompanied Neptune into Aries, having Chiron in Aries as well, and that solar eclipse that we had at the end of March in Aries, okay? Mercury in Aries and Venus in Aries both going retrograde. We have a lot of karmic unraveling to do as it relates to our personal individuation process meeting the collective, as it relates to our personal identity evolving and transforming. Some of us have forgotten who we are or were. Some of us have gotten very disconnected from the earth and from the ground. There is so much activation for people over these last few years in the ethereal, in the, third eye and the crown and all of these, upward oriented energies, these higher frequencies, obviously the sort of space age feeling, the sort of change and elevation in atmosphere that has been happening will now be tested. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of testing. Like, is it actually okay to be with the head in the clouds when there is not a solid ground underneath the feet? All right, there are going to be a lot of people kind of disoriented by this time, in fact, because there is almost like a disconnect between like the head and the mind and then the feet. Okay, right? Pisces ruling the feet. Aries ruling the face and the head, right? So all these retrogrades coming into April on the cusp of Aries and Pisces is going to be like getting the feet and the head on the same page. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes people in a time like this will live somewhere that makes no sense for them. They'll have their body or their feet placed in a ground or a territory that is not in the same place that their head is. Some people will dream here about having a different career. They'll dream about moving. They'll dream about having some type of alternate experience. And some people will also be stepping in to this dream or permit themselves to actually either let the head come to where the feet are or to have the feet go where the head is. So that's the main thing that I feel about April at an intuitive level, you all, is like the merging, like getting your entire body, your body, mind, heart, all in the same page. Because something that has been so evident to me in this recent time, really ever since like February and March, was this really strong distortion, the double speak, the two-mindedness, having one foot in and one foot out of different situations, is leading to some degree of a chaotic outcome. And it would just be so healing, I think, to come into Aries season this year, to come into April with, at the very least, a resolution to get your life onto the same page with itself. It's kind of an odd articulation, but I'm feeling like a lot of people, they want the change, but they would never give it to themselves, okay? They want a different job, but they would never quit the current job, or they want to save money, but they would not stop their current spending habits. So there's this distorting frequency here relating to Jupiter in Gemini, also all of this strong Pisces energy, Mars in Cancer as well. We've had all of these debilitations that we're coming out of March with, and intuitively, I feel that means that we might have quite a heavy to-do list here in April. There might be a lot of components that need work. There might need to be some exchanges going on. You might have to return something you've purchased. You might have quite a few things that you need to send back and replace. There might be quite a few things that you need to get out of your house or be done with. There might be quite a few dysfunctional components or nodes in your life that need to just be moved on from. And it will also be nice to pair this sort of polishing frequency with a mindset that's dedicated more towards health of the body. Okay, so I'm sensing that people might also need to become more diurnal here. That's always very supported as we move into spring, to work more with the daytime and to work more with sunlight, to work more with the mornings. Okay, so this might be an important time to begin rising earlier in the day and getting everything done early in the day. Anything that you're losing sleep over should have some type of resolution put into place, and probably not just a resolution, but actually like a firm action plan that you can follow and actually begin to make concrete during this time. And there's something else that I actually want to talk about intuitively for April. How can I explain this? I'm really feeling this deeply. It's a feeling that things are so close to being right, or things are like almost connecting. It's almost like, sometimes when you have a very close relationship in your life, and it might like just be about to cross into like the next level, or a romantic relationship crossing into marriage, or some kind of like advancement. I'm feeling, if I can explain this properly, that people are like right on the threshold. They're like, I want this to advance. I want this career to advance. I want this relationship to advance. And it's so close, like things are kind of like connecting. There could even be kind of like a forceful connective energy, but it's just not quite doing it. Okay, it's not quite connecting. It's not quite advancing. And these things are going to need to be seen differently here. Okay, so notice things in your life that just won't quite work. Okay, notice things in your life that you're like, I wish this would actually be fruitful. I spend so much time thinking about the advancement of this relationship, but it never does. I think so much about what I might do with my life someday, but I never actually just quite connect with it. So this sterility, or a certain like barren nature to the dreams that we've had for a long time, will need to have some kind of finalization. Now, I think April is a wonderful month not to settle for things that aren't great. So say, for example, you have a wonderful dream about changing your career, and here during this time, what you might have is like, oh, but look at all these other things you can do instead. Like, you've always wanted to be a doctor, I don't know. And now here during this time, it's going to be like, well, you could always start a business selling t-shirts with like health slogans on them. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Okay, that's just a random example. But notice when things are kind of like dressed up to appeal to your dreams, but they're not quite right. As I feel that this is also this distortion frequency that has been in here, where it's like, you're brimming over the edge with motivation for a dream, or to finally, have a healthy romantic relationship in your life, whatever it is. And you get offered something that's like, well, this is not exactly a healthy romantic relationship, but here's a really nice kind of confusing situationship for you that will, perhaps promise something or feel as if it's going to yield and sort of like satiate this yearning that you might be having. But it's not a healthy romantic relationship. It's definitely not that, but you're accepting it. Or, you've wanted to go to medical school for such a long time, but, here's someone who can help you make a business around selling t-shirts with health slogans on it. And you're getting to kind of access the same creativity, but it's not really the dream. Don't settle. Okay. What a wonderful month to increase your standards. Not in a mean way. This is not like lording your standards over people. This is not like rejecting people callously because you're too good for them. This is not arrogance. But I would come to some kind of more structured place inside. This is not really how you express to other people. This is like inside standards. This is like, I know my worth, as I'm also feeling intuitively that we get to Taurus season this year in April, and there's a major question of self-worth. There's a major question of is this what you deserve? Are you settling for something too beneath you? Could this energy that you've put into this situationship, or even into a living circumstance that is not really good enough for you, could this actually be elevated into something that actually checks all of the boxes and perhaps even offers you some greater degree of abundance? People are, during April, going to have a hard time in some cases realizing what they settled for in the past, or realizing that they were hungry for something substantial, but they settled for a lot of candy, essentially. So this is also tying into some of those messages that have been coming up recently on Patreon about dopamine detoxes and about, something that tastes really good or elicits a really strong chemical response but may not be real. That's been one of the main things that the collective has been sick with, during Neptune and Pisces, the whole entire transit, since 2011. Is this sort of illusory sense of substance, or, things that trigger a certain chemical reaction, filler food, filler media. We've talked a lot on this channel about that. I would see with Neptune going into Aries, also the solar eclipse energy, it being during eclipse season, having all these retrogrades on Pisces and Aries, there's a substance crisis. There's also a need to quit funding things that are fake substance, like fast food. There's maybe a need to go on strike with this, or to realize that we can't engage it anymore, or that we have to really maybe get up earlier in the day to prepare meals in advance, or we may need to get up earlier in the day. In a way, this is a hard word to throw around, but almost to atone to ourselves for what we've put ourselves through for the past few years and what we've accepted. There may have to be some more prayer during this time. There may also have to be because I, accepted something that was such poor quality, I may need to spend double the time creating better quality in my life now to make up for that balance. Okay. It's the full moon in Libra this month as well, on April 12th. So there is going to be a very clear picture painted about imbalances and what it's going to take to right the wrongs, what it's going to take to pay certain things back, and the bills or the interest payments essentially on having gone a long time accepting something or spending something that was just almost unreasonable to consider at this point in time. So one of the most positive things about April of 2025 to me is celebrating the fact that you're doing better for yourself, celebrating the fact that your standards are increasing, and you can almost feel your own internal fire element, right? All this cardinal fire energy. It really expands when you let go or burn away some of this unacceptable debris. Okay, there's going to need to be some of that here because we've had quite a lack of fire energy for a long time. And this is going to be one of our first points, getting back into some good sacred cardinal fire, which I think will mean that a lot of this stuff is just not coming with us. And I think that there will be quite meaningful material changes coming in. And, anything that you can do to materialize this feeling of like, I'm letting go of certain things that are not substantial for me. I'm not attached to these things that are keeping me up at night. And it's most difficult with people in relationships, though, as there will be a lot of romance for some people with like, but that one time this person flirted with me in a way that was like really special, and they really helped me to feel a certain way. So like I really don't feel confident enough to end things, even though I'm not like really getting what I need. So there's going to be this kind of like, again, contradicting, distorted romance thing going on, which I think by the end of April, we will have a lot of progress made. And there's definitely a call to progress through, and in many cases out of these things. And especially when people try to drag you down. I've noticed this so prolifically lately. You're on a high. You're, I guess as Abraham Hicks says, on the high flying disc or whatever. And other people want to introduce language that is like pulling that down. Notice these downers, okay? Aries season is not about it. And I'm just tired of it myself. Like, as someone who has worked really hard, and, comment below if you're the same way. Someone who's worked really hard to have the quote unquote high flying disc, someone who has worked really hard to make adjustments, to have happiness, and to, have increases and gains, and other people see it and they want to humble it. Okay, I've had a few people try to humble me lately, and it's just like crazy, because this is not like a matter of humility. This is a matter of like life, and this is a matter of sterility versus abundance. And I'm seeing a lot of people who are humble and who are in no way arrogant being like deemed that just because they're okay, and because they're not like in the trenches that other people are in. So guard your peace, guard your happiness, and sometimes don't share too much about how well you're doing, because other people may think that making you feel bad is like positive and balanced, to bring you back down to other people's levels. So see that if it's happening, and don't be afraid to cancel that. Okay, don't be afraid to see those kinds of like downer frequencies, especially coming from other people. Don't be afraid to see it almost as them like supplicating you to give to them something that they don't understand, or something that, some type of gain or abundance that they refuse to have themselves. Don't let it be a disempowering thing for you. Let it be sort of like a validation in a way of how well you're doing, because like optimism is so rare here. Doing well is so rare here. So like the people who have it, you might have to safeguard it and not, get in line to be pulled down, because that will be, there will be an abundance of people who are willing to do that. And we just got to have fun with it here, I think. But anyway, very briefly on the astrology alone for April 2025, I'm going to put the charts up. We've already talked about quite a bit of it, but I'll go through some of these dates for you all. Okay, we enter the month with both Mercury and Venus retrograde in Pisces, and they were retrograding on that cusp of Aries and Pisces. It will be April 7th that Mercury goes direct, and then April 12th that Venus goes direct. So the first half of April has that Mercury and Venus retrograde feeling. Also, Mars is changing into Leo on April 18th, but before then it's still in Cancer. So the first half of April is kind of like imbued with this like lingering kind of downer, kind of debilitated feeling, but we also know that we're getting out of it. There will definitely be a feeling of like having to be patient. Some people might feel like they're sentenced to some kind of difficult experience, but by the mid part of April, I think that there will be a optimizing. I think that there will be a release feeling. I think that a lot of these abstract confinements will be canceled out. And don't forget also that Mercury is debilitated in Pisces, and this stretches back to the November and December and January 2024. timeline where we had the Jupiter-Mercury debilitated oppositions and mutual receptions. So that is working the rest of that out. This is not as hard as that, but it's still kind of like activating some of this like brain busting energy that was coming up back then. And like, if you feel like there's just no way for me to understand any of this, this is an unsolvable puzzle, I would try to push through and overcome all of it. And, you know, there's nothing wrong, you all here, honestly. How do I explain this? There's nothing wrong with some type of grander structure to resolve it. So say, for example, you've got some type of like material inconvenience. Say that you've like inherited a house that's like full of like hoarded materials. This is not a time where you need to go through and do it yourself. You know, call up the company and have them come in and do it for you. Okay, like I love the delegation thing here. As a lot of the stuff that I feel is leading to these brain-busting scenarios is partly because it's like beyond what one person can handle. So here we are also in this kind of like Pluto and Aquarius paradigm where there's this integration needed. It like takes a lot of people to do some of these things, like careful about the DIY in shadows. I'm definitely seeing that. I'm seeing that as a very kind of stultifying and like continuing energy to be doing too much oneself. So it's just going to keep these current cycles repeating, which could be good for some people, but not for other people. April 16th, we get Mercury and Aries. That will be very good for just telling people how you feel, getting things off your chest. Do you have a few things that you've needed to say? Maybe that will be good by mid-April. Also with Mars going into Leo at the same time, very fiery. Very fiery. Sun goes into Taurus on April 19th. And April 24th, we have a conjunction of Venus and Saturn in Pisces. And we're going to be able to bring beauty to some of the pain and difficulty that this odd Pisces situation, which I did make an audio about on Patreon, I'll link it below, about the Saturn-Neptune North Node Sun minor asteroid of Nessus stellium that we had in Pisces. That's going to be something that can affect us for years to come. So do listen to that audio, as there's a lot of work that we need to do in that territory. We have a new moon in Taurus on April 27th, which will be really nice to get back into the physical, to get back onto our feet, and to really work with the physical, real life scenario that we're in, as that feels to me very depleted, and it feels like there's a lot needed there. Venus will go into Aries on April 30th, and we will finish the month with quite a nice, energetic, fiery situation that I feel will really work on some of the depletion that we felt. So like if you felt taxed, if you felt depleted, maybe there's a very simple way to correct that. Maybe there's some kind of trade or exchange that could happen in your life rather than having to create it from scratch, rather than having to reinvent the wheel. And also maybe there are going to be some new people coming in that through these higher standards or through these not settling energies might be a lot better for you. Okay. And as always, all 12 of the April sign-by-sign readings are available on Patreon. That will be linked in the center of the screen now, as well as below in the description box. Come over to Patreon. It's a wonderful value. You get all 12 readings, and then also weekly tea chats, which have weekly forecasts every Saturday. It's a really good value. Check that out. It's ad-free, seamless, and a great way to support this channel. Do keep the subscribe button hit below, as there is quite a wonderful stream of content coming over these next few months. Thank you all so much for your comments, and I hope you have a wonderful April. Much love. Bye.